conceptual perspective things. People talk about desirability, success, all of the elements. From a conceptual perspective things. People talk about desirability, success, all of the elements.
Hello everybody, Dr. Rick Wallace dropping in on you. I don't plan on being long, but I wanted to take a little time to talk to you about the importance of preparing our youth to be impactful, successful, and thrive in an environment that's inherently hostile towards them. I came to you a couple of days ago to talk to you about the little 6-year-old girl who was arrested and handcuffed. Since then, there's been another case where I think 6 teenagers are now charged with capital murder because they went in to a little 16-year-old girl's house and killed her. So we're looking at every end of the spectrum and how we're failing our kids. I was able to communicate with a young lady in Chicago who wants to connect and bring some programs to the area. And it's amazing with so many people in Chicago and so many people doing things in Chicago that there's no cohesiveness. And so my goal is to try to help create a cohesive force of people who are truly engaged. I'm not talking about the nonprofit industrial complex, because see what happens with the nonprofit industrial complex. You get organizations like Black Lives Matter and others that are funded by major money movers like George Soros that give the impression that things are being done, but nothing truly is being done. So you can throw money at something and it looks good, or you can invest in something and truly empower it. And see, that's my goal. My goal isn't simply to create programs that look good. You can get a lot of funding that way. But if you're not truly empowering the individuals and you're just throwing money at them, it looks good because you can talk about how much money went into the program and what was done and blah, blah, blah. You have to empower people, which means you have to give them a sense of self. You have to give them a sense of identity. They have to understand who they are. They have to be able to relate to the possibilities and potentials within themselves. That first creates the yearning, the passion, and it also connects them to the responsibility to meet the demand of their potential. This is all a part of socialization. Unfortunately, our children aren't being effectively socialized. They are being literally given false information on who they are. They are being erroneously and miseducated and so much more. So the goal is to sit up and design programs that literally introduce our children to themselves. So we're talking about history. We're talking about male and female socialization. What does it look like to be a black man? How does a black man function? How does a black man move? How does a black man deal with opposition and obstacles? How does a black man deal with the frustration that comes with simply having to meet these benchmarks that have been placed before him? What does it look like when a black man is rejected? Because we've got so many young black males now who are taking the lives of young black females because they are ending relationships. And where does that come from? How do we deal with it? How do we approach it? What is the social and psychological elements and components at play that we address? How do we holistically educate our youth? How do we put what is necessary in front of them outside of academic skills? The attainment of academic skills does not in and of itself define or represent true holistic education. Again, that begins with an understanding of who one is. When you understand yourself, when one becomes acquainted with oneself, one becomes acquainted with purpose, one becomes acquainted with a sense of potential, one becomes acquainted with a direction and a destiny. And it is the working out of that intentionally that power is exhibited, not in the attainment of a skill set. specifically academics. Now, I'm not saying that there's something wrong with academic skills. I'm saying that doesn't. Okay, I was cut off, so I'm gonna go ahead and tie this up and get the moving. But one does not, the attainment of academic skills does not in and of itself constitute education. Education is the complete preparation and empowerment of an individual to go out into a world and not only compete, but win. If you haven't equipped a child to go out and compete and win, you haven't educated a child. If you haven't given a child a sense of self to understand who they are in this world, you have not educated them. And that's got to be the goal. We're losing too many kids on too many fronts. We're losing them to the system. We're losing them to one another. We're losing them to misdirection and just being lost, being easily misdirected and misguided by a social culture that will literally destroy them over time. It's our responsibility to really, truly stand up and step up and move forward in being what we need to be in order to make them who they should be. And it's a consistent, conscious effort. This is not a quick fix. I have often said that in order to achieve true liberation and empowerment, we're gonna need black men who are willing to plant seeds that they may not live long enough to see come to fruition. And that's been my goal. My thing is, I may not live to see the work I am doing now produce the results I know it can, but I have to be willing to do that. So it may not be a pat on my back in my lifetime. It may not be my name on a plaque in my lifetime. And I've got to be okay with that. See, we want that gratification. We want that instantaneous gratification. We want to be recognized as the person who did A, B, C, and D. And in doing so, we want to bypass important elements and components and necessary steps in getting something done. And what we do is we shortchange ourselves, we shortchange our children, we shortchange the culture and the race. We're going to have to put in some work. We're going to have to be consistent about it. We're going to have to be purposeful in it. And we're going to have to be committed to go the distance. That's where I'm at right now. And so on that note, I'm going to check out here. Let's make some things happen. Let's get together and do this. For the people who have been contacting me about programs and working with me, the people who have been contacting me about how you can bring black men lead in restoring Ghettos Forgotten Daughters and all of that to your city, your area, could keep it coming. Let's hook up and connect. I'm really loving that. Let's do that. We are now in the process of putting together the information and curriculum of what we do with Black Men Lead in a more easily transferable or transmissionable document, so that it can be easily seen, studied, and carried out. But in the meantime, I'm walking people through it step by step. We're going to get it all done. I'm excited about it. Keep it coming. It's going to take a team effort. It's going to take all of us working together to get it done. So with that being said, I'm going to get out of here, get off, keep things moving. Let's make some things happen. For those of you who want to support the work we're doing, go to the description box of the video that you're watching, and the first paragraph will tell you the ways that you can actually support us. On that note, I'm out of here.
Here I come, ready or not. Frank Ocean make this record hot.
From a conceptual
sounded better than Jay.
perspective, people talk
Real
about
talk,
it as
I
out
ain't
of
throwing
success.
shots. Careful who you leave clueless.
Hello, everybody. Dr. Rick Wallace here, dropping in on you. I hope that everybody's having an unbelievable day. As for me, it's business as usual, pushing forward, trying to uh, optimize my time, maximize my impact, and be a catalyst for change for the good, of course. I have my ups and my downs like everybody else, but I'm here because I want to share something with you. And before I do, I want to remind you, we're still in the midst of a fundraiser, an ongoing fundraiser to help uh, subsidize, so to speak, what we're doing beyond what I personally fund to finance. We're not going to talk about it a lot. For those who have been aware for some time of what we do, we need your support. We're going to leave it at that. Uh, the way you can support is always going to be listed in the description box on the video that you're watching, no matter what. So that's that. What you're about to view is a very short clip of something that really caught my attention this morning and moved me in a very positive way, just to be able to experience it from my desktop. It is a young black father coming home to a teenage son that he had, that had not seen him outside of an institution since he was 3. So maybe 12, 13 years that they haven't had that type of contact. And so he's home and he's now seeing his son for the first time. He goes up to his school, the son isn't expecting it. And you can watch the engagement of that. I want you to just see what happens. It's nothing, it's not a lot of conversation. It's just an engagement. It's pure emotion, pure love. And we get a chance to see that. And then I'm going to give you a very brief commentary on what I observed and why we've got to be more intentful in addressing this issue. Take a look. Okay, thanks for those who took the time to watch that. Look, I'm not going to take long with this. I just want to hammer home a point. We have 1.5 million black men who are missing, predominantly due to mass incarceration as well as homicide and other forms of early death that are taking our men who are in the age of parenting primarily and leaving a gap that puts pressure on our women and leaves our young babies with questions. We have to be more intentful in engaging the conversation that's necessary to change this. We've got to deal with the issues that lead to incarceration. Then we must also deal with the issues that enforce recidivism. We're talking about 75% of the people who are released from prison will return within 3 years. That's what the numbers say. And we need to address that. We need to provide a space for people who have made mistakes to come home. We need to provide avenues to fight for those who have been falsely accused. We need to work on prevention that before it ever becomes an issue. And that means addressing the disproportionality at which young black males are referred for special education assignments, which works to alienate the young black male from the school process, leading to early dropout, which also increases their risk for incarceration. You have to see how the system works. I've said this so many times. You need to understand how things work if you plan on being an impact in changing the things that you don't like and being able to reproduce the things that you do. It's so important to understand the dynamics of what's taking place so that you can become more than a complainer, more than a finger pointer.
You want to be a catalyst of change, an instrument of change. You want to be someone who is making their presence felt. And that comes from knowing, that comes from being willing to put in the work. There's so much that has to be done in this, and so many of the ills, not all, but so many of the ills can be traced here to, in full, in part, or in part, have an impact on the realities that we are suffering with, and give us some type of idea of what we need to do to change it. I've put a lot of time and energy and effort into learning about and understanding these dynamics so that we can create change. We're not going to get anywhere by complaining. We're not going to get anywhere by finger pointing. Yes, we know there are people who are directly working against us. We know that we are targets. We know that we are victims of oppression. We know that we are descendants of slaves. We know so many things, but we also have to know by looking at who we are and what we've been through that we are resilient people, that we are a people who are built to survive and win. But what we are going to have to do is take our creativity, take our imagination, take our spiritual aptitude that's exceptional and remarkable, and use it to our benefit. We can't keep turning to the oppressor and asking them to lift their foot off our neck. We have to get to a point in which we say we will remove it without question, by any means necessary. It's that simple. So my simple challenge or charge here is, let's step up. Let's have these discussions. Let's sit down together at our table, not theirs, at our table, and determine what direction we're going to take. How far are we willing to go? Are we willing to go the distance? Are we willing to put in the time? Are we willing to die for what we know we should have? That's going the distance. That's saying there's absolutely nothing that's going to stand in the way of me providing a better world for my children and their children and their children. It's absolutely imperative that we get together on this and develop a consistent and systemic agenda that will work to our benefit. On that note, I'm going to check out of here. Once again, reminding you that we definitely need your support and your help. You guys have an unbelievable day. Hopefully, I'll be back to you a little later on. I'm out.
Here I come, ready or not. Frank Ocean made this record hot.
From a conceptual
sounded better than Jay.
perspective, people talk
Real
about
talk,
it as
I ain't throwing
successful.
shots. Careful who you